Hi everyone, Jenny with On Fire Fit. Today I am talking about mindfulness, and I hope that you will stick around because I know that that is a very common trendy word, but I want you to think about it as you are starting off this new year. Now, if you end up watching this somewhere down the line and it's later on in the year, you can start this at any time. Please never feel like January 1st is magical, because it really isn't. Most people don't last that long if their way of thinking is that January 1st is the only time that they can make a positive change. So, mindfulness, I actually have looked up the synonym of that word and never found anything that quite captures the same meaning. And so I'm going to stick with that word for now. But in my life, mindfulness is so simple. If we could get to the point of being more mindful and really simplifying and honing down into just being present in your moment, and also being very thoughtful about where you're not mindful, you could change so many areas of your life all at the same time. And this, I think, you can start applying it, let's say, in the area of food, which I'm actually doing a challenge where we are really focusing on that aspect of mindfulness and eating. But you can apply this to all different areas. I'm going to tell you how I am choosing to do that this year, and you may want to follow along. This is kind of a conglomeration, is that a word, of a few different things all kind of coming together into one thought in my mind. So hopefully this will make sense to you. I watch YouTube at different times, mostly like if I'm cleaning or meal prepping. And so I stumbled across some videos that were, one being a no-buy year. And a no-buy year is when you decide that in certain areas you are not going to buy anything for that year. Obviously, we still need groceries, we still have to pay our utilities and our mortgage, and there's certain things, of course, that we are going to always be needing to pay for. But what areas of your life are you just not mindful that you could really start to make some changes that would really help you not to fritter away the money that you make? Our family does fine. The income that we bring in is fine. But there are always things that I would much rather be putting $20 into an account towards my daughter's college than another lip gloss. I'm going to show you how many lip glosses I have. But somehow when you're in the store and you see, oh, that's a pretty shade, you're buying it, and then it's like, well, wait a second. Why did I just do that? Oh, well, whatever. And it's only 20 bucks, or it's really not going to affect our budget. But it's not being mindful. Do I really need it? Do I really use all the ones that I already have? And so it becomes very wasteful, and it's not living that simple, refined life where you really find the true treasure. So in a no-buy year, you set up guidelines for yourself as to the things that you're just not going to buy. And that way, when you're in the store and you see the lip gloss, you're like, nope, no lip gloss this year. And so you just move away from it. There's no decision that has to be made at that point. And you obviously you can apply this to anything for you. Lip gloss may not be your thing, but from the various people that I have watched, some of them have mounds of makeup, and there's no way they could use up all this makeup. But somehow they see a sale at Sephora and they're running to buy more makeup. Instead of doing that, they've decided, you know what, I'm going to take an inventory of what I have, and I am going to make a decision that I'm not buying any makeup or not buying any more face products, which is another one of the things that I have a lot of, not excessive, but quite a bit. And maybe there's various food items that you carry in your pantry that you really need to use up. You've been leaving them in that back of your pantry forever. Maybe this is your year to really get through some of that and come up with some creative ways to make use of the stuff that you have in there. Obviously if it's not expired or whatever. So this no buy idea, you have to be very specific. You have to write down exactly what your rules are, because it's not the same from one person to the next. But that is one area that I took an inventory of in my various areas of my life. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need more makeup. I don't need more face products. And what I'm going to do in order to work my way through that this year is set up a system for how I'm going to go about making use of those products. And then they call this Project Pan. So this is another concept that I'm kind of bringing in. Some of these makeup loving women have all these palettes of makeup, where the powder is like the little round circle thing that you open up. I should just show you a picture of it, or get mine out. But when they call this Project Pan, their focus is on using what they already have, not buying any more stuff, and using that until they hit pan, which means that you see a little metal at the bottom where it's worn out. Okay, I'm just going to get mine out because I'm at my vanity, so I can just get mine out. So I think I actually am hitting pan on this one that I have. That is called hitting pan. You have reached the metal. This one, I have hit pan. See if I haven't hit pan on something. Okay, here's where it gets a little challenging. These kind of palettes, I hit pan in a big way on this part right here. This is like the most neutral color in this palette. So I hit pan big time on this. These other ones, I'm gonna have a hard time hitting pan on, but I'm gonna work on using those because I've had this forever and I'm not using it. I'm using a little of this and I'm using a little bit different palette, whatever. So instead I have this little single that I got, I think my daughter got it for me for Christmas. So I'm using that in place of this. And then I'm working through these others. So I have no idea if you are psycho like me, where I love to use things up. I love this satisfaction of knowing that I bought something with my money and I've used it up and been completely not wasteful with something. And so I think it's kind of fun. So my idea, and this is not my idea, I should say, this is the Project Pan thing, is they decide, okay, they might have multiple eyeshadow palettes. Let's see, I have another eyeshadow palette, but I'm gonna focus on this one until I hit pan. And then when that happens, I can move on to the next one. To me, this is being very mindful as well. You are not wasting money on things that you don't really need. You are very intentional about how you are using the products and things that you have already bought. And so you are going to slowly be simplifying your life too. So, there's a lot of this KonMari and various ways of decluttering your life. Well, this is another way of decluttering your life. You are going to work through the things that you already have. Some of it, maybe you need to get rid of. And so that's where use it or lose it comes in. So I told you I've got like all these different things and they're all gelling into one gigantic thought. Use it or lose it to me is, if I'm not going to use this year because it's a part of my inventory of products and things that I'm trying to blow through and get through. If I'm not going to use it this year, then I'm going to lose it right now. So just get rid of anything that you already know you're not going to use, you're not using now, and only use the things that you really truly know you are going to. You're not going to miss it. If you feel bad because it's wasteful, if it's something you can donate, then donate it. But it is not helping you by taking up real estate in your drawer or your house. So just get it out of there, simplify, and make it more like, the less stuff we have around, the more mindful we can be. We don't have to be distracted about cleaning things and distracted by excess and too many things that we keep buying more of. So to me, it all works into the mindfulness. So I am going to show you my inventory of the various things that I have kind of taken into account and the things that I am going to be working through this year. As far as taking that mindfulness, now we've talked about the project pan, so that's to me, even though they use that term as a way to talk about makeup and getting to the metal, I call it pan, like a pan of your life. So this is my project pan. I've kind of pervaded my life. My areas where I have a lot of books and I have not read them all. And there's no way that I can read another book beyond what I have already bought. So before I invest in one single more book, I have a list of the books that I already have and how I am going to work through those this year. And so I just keep chipping away, reading through the books that I already have. Makeup, I'm doing the same thing. I have face products, I'm doing the same thing. I have food items that I'm doing that with. I really don't need more clothes. Heaven knows I don't need more shoes. Although if my husband gives them to me, I will not turn them down. And that's the thing. It's a little different if it's a gift. You can accept a gift, and that's fine. But that's up to you and your rules and things like that. But I'm also not one to be really triggered about going out to eat or going out and buying coffee and things like that. But if that's one of your triggers, you may want to have that as one of your things that you limit or you no buy or you low buy. So you say once a month I can go through Starbucks and get a coffee, or once a month I can go out to eat, or something like that. But you got to make your guidelines and your rules. So as we think about mindfulness though with our eating, and the group that I've been working to get started, and really what I've been trying to practice for quite a while, is mindfulness with eating. Because truly I believe that we should be at a point in our life, hopefully as soon as possible, where all foods are within limits. Now, I am not an advocate of banning sugar from your diet forevermore. There's not any reason that you cannot have a scoop of ice cream at your kid's birthday party or whatever the case might be. But the problem is that when we are so caught up in a diet mentality, we are either on or off of a diet, and our mindfulness has gone out the window. Rather than tasting what we're eating and saying, wow, this just really tastes good and it's creamy, but you know what, now I'm kind of full, and if I keep going, I think I might get sick. Instead of having that mentality, most of the time, people that are still struggling with weight and food issues think, I don't know when I'm ever gonna get to have this again, because tomorrow I'm starting my diet, and so I'm just gonna eat as much of it as I can. Or they go into the feelings mode of, well, I'm such a failure that I might as well just drown myself in this because it's going to make me feel good at the moment, totally neglecting down the road, tomorrow, later tonight, whatever, that you're going to feel rotten again. So the mindfulness of the moment is to say, do I really want this, whatever food it is that's in front of you? Yeah, I really do. Okay, sit down, put it on a plate. Don't eat it out of the bag standing at the pantry. It's okay. You can have it. This is not like forevermore you can't have a chip. Because when you have that mentality, you're going to be driven to eat a whole bag of chips because it's just in that nature that we have. So instead, you put it on a plate and sit down and eat it, and then think, did I like that? Was it good? Did it taste good? Did I like as much as I had? Maybe it was so salty and you're thinking, gosh, there was like excessive amount of salt, and you stop yourself before you just eat through a whole bag because you actually are tasting it. So as you're developing a mindfulness about the way that you eat, I believe you have to put up some guidelines, just like I talked about with the Project Pan and the whole no buy. Set up some rules for yourself to live by, to start to train yourself so that you really are paying attention. So one of the things is to not eat in front of a screen, TV, your computer, your iPad, your phone, because all it does is distract you. It just takes your mind off of what you're actually doing and it steals from that mindfulness. So eliminate the screens. Sit down when you eat, because when you stand at the pantry or at the fridge, those don't even compute into your brain. You're not really tasting the food. You're not really noticing whether or not that's fueling your body. It's an empty, thoughtless thing. And that can contribute as well to weight issues. So sit down, put your food on a plate. Don't eat out of the bag of chips. If you're going to eat chips or nuts or whatever it is, just put it on a plate and practice that. And no taste or just little gobble gibble, little nibblies all over the place. Put it on a plate. And it's so funny because all the people that keep giving me feedback about my put it on a plate, it's like, it's more dishes. And I'm like, all right, I don't know about you. Maybe you're like Monk and no food can touch each other, or you can't handle the fact that like the apple that you had on your plate is now going to have a chip sitting on top of that plate. I don't know. Like, to me, I'm not going to wash every single plate every single time, but how long does it take to rinse it off? So to me, if anything, it helps break the habit of taking nibbles all over the place and being intentional and thoughtful. And of course, this applies to people that really already are having food issues. If you don't have food issues, you can just ignore me. But if you have issues where you are hung up with the way that you think, you have a bad relationship with food, and you're always trying to find a diet, and you're always falling off of a diet, and you're always getting back on a diet, and then you're beating yourself up, this goes for you, because what it should provide for you once you start to develop that mindfulness is freedom to try something and say, you know what, it doesn't even really taste that great. I can always have something sweet tomorrow. And maybe tomorrow you're like, I'm not even in the mood for something sweet. To me, that's freedom. It is not so restrictive that you are in a mode or a frenzy mode that you're operating out of a different part of your natural, normal body cues that God gave you, rather than saying, you know what, I feel full now. God gave us a cue to tell us when we're full, but how often do we override it? Maybe it's because we're emotional and we're eating out of boredom or we're stressed. If you are mindful at that moment and you're saying, am I even hungry? That's the first awareness of mindfulness. Am I even hungry? No, actually, I don't feel a grumbling in my stomach. I really am not hungry. So then what am I feeling? Well, I'm really stressed about something. And then you say, well, is it going to help me to eat something right now? And you may say yes, because in the past, a bowl of ice cream did make you feel good, but for how long? So it didn't last. And then you know what happens, because then you feel bad because you used ice cream to help anxiety, and they don't go together. So if you decided at that moment, you know what, I really am not hungry, I'm just anxious, what would actually solve anxiety? Well, for me, I go to the Bible. I look up verses on anxiety. I pray. I ask God, what is it that I need to learn in this moment? Who are you to me right now that will help me with this thought? What can I, and this is how mindfulness will mean everything, because when you are hungry, you will start eating foods that really fuel you and make you feel good, and you won't be eating out of emotional places. And when you are noticing that you're gravitating toward food, even if you're not hungry, if you know that I have to sit down with this undistracted and I have to put it on a plate, and you really pay attention, I guarantee you are not going to eat bag after bag after bag of chips or the whole gallon of ice cream if you are really mindful, because you're going to get to that point where you're like, this just doesn't even taste any good anymore. It's too salty, too sweet, something. So really getting to that point of mindfulness in that area of food, in the area of things that you should or should not be buying, You can take this into all different areas of your life depending on what your various struggles are. And like I said, for me, finances aren't really so much of an issue, although I still want to make the best use of the things that God has given me and really be mindful before I buy something again. I don't want more things in my house. I don't want to bring in excess. And I would rather be able to give more and donate more and work less than I want to just keep bringing more things into my home. And so I think that being mindful really gets us on that right track. And I'm all about writing things down. So I would encourage you to write down the things that are really your triggers and how you are going to maybe make a no buy, how you are going to be more mindful in that area, and just stick with that. Don't get too complicated. Don't set up a bunch of rules about what you can and can't eat or that type of thing. Just try to keep it basic as far as I really don't need more of this. And I'm going to be mindful with my eating by sitting down and not having a screen in front of me. I'm telling you, that is so hard to do. I always feel like it's my moment to catch up. When I sit down and eat, I want to grab my phone and start texting people or whatever. And I have to resist that urge. One of the things I have to do is put my phone somewhere else, put it on do not disturb, whatever, and really get into that moment. And I use that time to pray. I try to really ask God, what should I be doing with my time today? Where would you like me to focus? Or pray for people. So I hope that that gives you some ideas of my project pan, use it or lose it, no buy, mindfulness year. Do you think I'm a psycho yet? It really is not overwhelming though. So if it sounds overwhelming, I'm sorry. But to me, it's not overwhelming. It is just very intentional. And it gives me a really good feeling to know that I'm moving in a direction of simplicity, mindfulness, and really paying attention to what God wants for my life, where He wants to use me, just really get rid of all the excess, all that baggage, all that stuff that holds us back sometimes. So I would love to hear from you. Where are your little triggers? What are some of the things that you tend to overbuy, or areas that you eat that really are a trigger for you? Maybe watching TV and sitting with a bag of chips, and before you know it, the whole bag is gone, or whatever the case might be. I would love to hear from you, and I hope that you'll join in with us. I will be making more videos as I go through this year that will be along the same lines. So I hope that you come along as we go through this. But I am going to show you some of my areas that are, I wouldn't even call them a weakness. They were just mindless things that I really didn't need to do, but I have a plan and I am going to attack. So let's look. Okay, here is my makeup drawer, which this is not all there is. This is a display of some of the stuff that is more than what I really need. So here are lip glosses. Now I have to say I did not buy any of these. These are Christmas presents, I think. And then these are birthday presents. So a lot of this is really not stuff that I spent money on. However, I don't really need to go buy more. I did buy that one. So I am going to be working through these this year. I have far too many eyeliners, which if they're old, of course, you need to throw them away because you don't want to give yourself conjunctivitis or a sty or something. But these are all fine, and I really just need to make use of the ones that I have. I only have one backup mascara, and as my friend Dana Lynn said, you have to replace that every 6 months. You don't want to use a lot of old mascaras that are going to give you an eye condition either, but anyway, I don't really have that problem. So over here are makeup brushes, which again, I don't think I bought any of these. These are all gifts that my husband gave me at Christmas, but I've got like kind of a variety. And then I do have extra palettes back here that are going to be used at some point. These are all my backup supply palettes of makeup. And then under this little one in my vanity is my actual makeup pouch that I use every day. So when I go to do my makeup, this is where I work out of. And then everything else that I showed you is a backup. So in here, I have my powder and my blush, which I showed you earlier, my palette for my eyeshadow, my Q-tips for smudges. This is a brow kit, which this one I was not using at all. And I thought, well, use it or lose it. And I thought, no, I do want to use it. So start putting it into your routine then, girl. I mean, it's not going to just magically get used up otherwise. And then the eyeshadow I showed you, a little sponge. This is another one of these use it or lose it. So this is a primer. Actually, I had to look up. I think it was part of a like free gift that came with something. And I had to look up, what the heck is this thing anyway? Do I even want to use this? So I looked it up and it's a primer. And I thought, oh yeah, I would like to try a primer. But I hadn't worked it into my system of makeup. It was completely untouched. So now I have worked that into my routine so that I will work through it. And then let's see, I just have mascara. I have an eyeliner that my daughter actually bought me, and I'm almost done with that one. This one's my favorite one I've ever had. It's really good. Some concealer, foundation, another concealer that they're kind of different. This is for acne and this one's like to brighten underneath your eyes. And so, yeah, so that I have a system of, you know, using all of these products. But if you have something that you typically have used, not used at all in the past, but you want to use, work it into your routine so that you can actually start using it instead of just, you know, otherwise throw it out. Don't hang on to it. Okay, here I am. You get to see me in the mirror here. Okay, so I'm opening up my makeup, or not makeup, what do we call this? I can't even think of the word for it. Medicine chest? I don't know. They used to call it that. Anyway, so this is face products. Now, you have to take into account that I have a daughter and a son that also use products for their face. So it might look like a lot, but over here, Q-tips and cotton balls. This is one of the face washes that we use. We have, this is where it gets to be like, I have too many things that I'm trying to use. And I would buy something because it was like, oh, it'll take care of this. And then something else, oh, it'll take care of this. And then come to find out that some of them do both of those things anyway. So I now have multiples of the same type of thing, but just different brands. So I have a system that I actually put on a card here. So in the morning, I use this lineup. I use the face cleanser, and then I use this antioxidant mist, which is this. My husband got this for me, I think a full year ago, and I just didn't know what to do with it or how to use it. And so I asked my daughter, and she said, oh, that should be used like a toner. And I'm like, okay, what do you do with that? So she said, use it before you start applying the other stuff. So now I have it in my little repertoire. So then I put on my breakout treatment, which is this one. And then I use some aloe, and then I use some oil and an eye cream. Okay, so that is my morning. Now the evening looks a little more complicated, but that's because I have way too many products, but they work on different things. And I also have a little more time in the evening. So in order to actually make use of this stuff that I have bought over, the last year or whatever, and not let it go to waste, I am incorporating it into my routine. So of course it's going to look different for you, but I basically do a good job of cleaning my face. I use face wipe. Let me pull those out. Sorry for the shaky camera. So I'm using currently these Sephora coconut water cleansing wipes. Then I use grapeseed oil, and I use this one right now. And I rub that into my face. It helps remove any other makeup and also adds some moisture. And then I wipe that off with a cloth. And then I actually use this one. And so then now my face is clean. Then I spray on that antioxidant one again. And then depending on, because I banged up that finger and it just keeps on getting banged up again. Then depending on what day it is, because my skin can't handle like a retinol every single day, it starts to just flake and dry out like crazy. So I have a little system for how to make use. See, what I ended up doing for a long time is just neglecting the retinol all the time because I would forget. Wait, when was the last time I used it? Should I use it now? I don't want to dry my skin out. Nope. Let's come up with a system so you actually use the stuff you bought. So on Mondays, I add Healthy Complexion Booster, just kind of like with a vitamin C. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, I use Dark Spot Corrector, which is that one. And then on Wednesday and Friday, I do Wrinkle Cream, which is that one, because this one has a retinol in it. And then after applying one of those, depending on what day of the week it is, I apply the breakout treatment, the aloe, that squalane oil, eye cream. And then I have, again, another thing that I wasn't using regularly was this lash serum. So now I apply that because it's on my agenda. And on Sundays, I use my exfoliator. Again, I could never remember. Oh, when was the last time I used it? Well, now I just use it every Sunday. My husband got this for me probably a whole Christmas ago, and I wasn't using it because I kept forgetting. So Sundays I do that, and then I do the teeth whitening strip because if I do it too often, I get very sensitive and then I stop using it altogether. But if I do it once a week, I'm fine. Now, in the evening, I also add in some of my essential oils that I've made. And this is, again, something that I was not using because, I don't know, and then I would buy more oils and then I wouldn't use them. And I thought, why am I doing this? So I have this I call Ageless, and it has like frankincense and stuff in it. And I rub that more like on my neck. And I made these myself with a carrier oil. But I rub this on my neck and my hands. And then Happy Jaw, everybody that knows my jaw issues, I found a blend. Well, I put together various oils that are good for inflammation. And then my kids use this one, Acne Away. I sometimes need it. And then Immune Blend is if I'm feeling like something's, coming on me, I'll rub that on my chest and neck area. This one, I think my daughter uses at times. Here's another thing that I was not using. We bought it because it's supposed to be good for your lashes and brows and all this stuff, but I wasn't using it because I didn't have it working into my system. So now I add that castor oil. Sorry, it's probably not focusing very well. I add castor oil to my lashes at night. And then there is this one. It's another essential oil, and I use that on patches of dryness, and it's supposed to be good for dermatitis. So again, these things that I'm working in, I'm going to work through them little by little. And Project Pan, which of course, again, is more of a makeup thing, but I'm using it as part of this No Buy Mindfulness year. Every time I use one up, I can knock it off my list and move on to another product that I already have. Okay, and this is part of my my Project Pan Use It or Lose It. I don't have as much because I just went through my zone cleaning and I threw out things that I didn't need, want, or use anymore. But there are certain things in here that I'm like, okay, I bought nutritional yeast and I really never knew what to do with it. So instead of just leaving it there for yet another year, mindfully, I'm going to see how best to use this. And so I went and did some research on what are the benefits and what to use it on so that I'm actually making use of the stuff I bought, and there's a reason I bought it, so I might as well start making the most of it. So that's just an example. I have other stuff in my pantry that I'm making use of, things in my freezer that I'm using up, so that really I'm just kind of clearing out, simplifying, and getting things a lot more on track with that. And then I do have my books, but that's in a different part of the house, and it's in a like a big container. So I am working through that, but I just have it on a list, and I've basically kind of broken it down into how many pages a day I need to read to get through some of the books, and then I can just knock them out. Okay, so that is it for Mindfulness Project Pan Know by Use It or Lose It year. So I hope that that gives you some incentive to kind of evaluate the areas that you might not be mindful, where you want to be more mindful, and how you can go about doing that. I would love to hear from you. So every day, I hope that you are living that on fire life, and I'll see you soon.